Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Cherry Pickers Podcast, a podcast where we talk all things hockey. My name is Zach, aka Zoo, and I'm joined here with my co-host Brody.
How's it going, everybody? We got episode 9 today. It's been a pretty crazy ride so far. Happy April Fool's Day to everyone out there, and looking forward to another episode.
I am also looking forward to today's episode. We are back after the trade deadline shenanigans. We are ready to get back into the hockey news, and we're getting close to playoff time, so that's very exciting. We're going to see what teams, make the playoffs, what teams choke it away. So without further ado, Brody, take us away with some of the news in the last week in NHL.
Yeah, so we're going to start it off here. We got some tough news. It was actually a big shock to me when I heard it. I was at work, got a notification on my phone, and that is the Senators owner Eugene Melnyk passes away at the age of 62. It said he was battling an illness, and it's very unfortunate to see. And Zach, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's really upsetting. He had liver failure is what it was that he was battling with, but he passed away at the age 62. Eugene Melnyk is such a big feature, especially in the Ottawa Senators franchise. He drafted a lot or brought on a lot of those young players that are currently on their core roster. It's always sad when someone prominent passes away in the hockey world, and it's really unfortunate. Sorry to hear. All the prayers and thoughts go out to his family, and it's very tough times right now over there in Ottawa.
Yeah, because I seen he came in 2003. He was the owner when the Senators made their only Stanley Cup final appearance in 2007. And it's just very tough to see. Was definitely not expecting that. And best of luck to Ottawa moving forward. And it's definitely a tough one to see. So now we're going to move on to a little bit more positive news. And that is the NHL is actually looking to raise their salary cap for next season. It looks like it's going to go up to $82.5 million. That's actually very good news in hockey with fans in the building. All the ticket sales going up again. It's great to see, and teams are going to have a little more room going forward. And what are your thoughts on the salary cap going up?
Yeah, these last couple of years for the NHL has been really tough with, the lockouts or the COVID lockouts and all that kind of thing going on. It's hard to drive revenue to a sport when you can't really have any fans in the stadium to watch the game, so it has been a very difficult time definitely in the NHL when it comes to that. But it's surprising to see realistically how low the revenue for the NHL is compared to other sports, obviously, like baseball, basketball, football. Those all have, very high revenue, very high salary cap. The players get paid a ton, so it's good to see. Obviously, if the salary cap's going up, that means the sport is growing, which is awesome to see. No, it's awesome. It's great. It's going to allow the teams to do a little bit more. It's going to allow the teams to. It's going to give more, frenzy time when it comes down to those, trade deadlines and free agency signings and stuff like that. So any increase of the salary cap means that revenue is going up in the league, and that's always good to see. It's always good to see new fans come in and enjoy the sport that we all love. So, awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely tough last year. I mean, there was no fans in the stands at all, and the divisions were just realigned. There was a whole heck of a lot going on with COVID, and the NHL was actually relying a fair bit on their TV deals in order to bring in that revenue because fans were not there. Ticket sales were gone, like food and beverage sales at games, all that stuff goes into what makes the salary cap what it is. So it's definitely nice to have fans in the stands again this year. We're back to full capacity, those food and beverage sales going up again and bringing more revenue to the league, and thus the salary cap going up. So it's going to give teams more room to sign their players going forward. As with higher salary cap goes higher wages. It's just inflation around the league. So, good to see the salary cap going up.
And I myself, Brody, am going to enjoy a little food and beverage. I got tickets to go to the Blues game, baby. I'm so excited for that. It's my first time. It's my second ever NHL game. Would you believe that, Brody? I've only been to one ever NHL game. But, I'm looking forward to that game. The Flames versus the Blues will be my second time in the Saladon. I haven't been there in 10 years. So I myself will contribute to those food and beverage sales. So, it's awesome. I'm excited.
All right, we're gonna keep it on with the salary cap discussion here. NHL GMs, they've been to a GM meeting in Florida. They are discussing the salary cap come playoff time. As we know right now, there's no salary cap in the playoffs. There's been a loophole with it in the last couple of years with LTIR and all that, so they are discussing a playoff salary cap. So, what would you like to see with the playoff salary cap? Are you in favor of it or are you against it?
I like both aspects. When it comes to implementing a salary cap in the playoffs, I like the fact that, it makes for better general managers to shine, in a sense where if you have to compile your team come playoff time to fit in a salary cap, that just shows how good of a general manager you are to be able to build such a good, core group of guys and be able to be compliant under that salary cap. So I can see the positives in that aspect, but also at the same time, like, yes, we've had those issues where, players have been going to, the phantom LTIR and, all of a sudden, come back playoff time, the player's ready to go, aka, Nikita Kucherov and potentially Mark Stone, unless Vegas doesn't make the playoffs. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know. It doesn't overly affect me, so like I don't really care either way. I can see the positives and the negatives on both sides, but the NHL is good for making decisions that are in the benefits of the teams and the fans. So realistically, whatever decision they make, I'd be fine with it either way. What about yourself, Brody?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, it is a loophole with the LTIR because, I mean, with Nikita Kucherov coming back just in time for the playoffs, which was convenient for Tampa
And it looked
Bay,
like he
and
didn't even skip a beat, too. Like, it didn't even look like he was, hurting at all. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think they said like Tampa Bay was over like 18 mil over the salary cap, or that's what they were saying, which is a little bit over the cap, but
A little bit.
just a little bit. But yeah, like I understand that with the playoffs right now, I mean, if you have your full roster, it makes for more exciting hockey. I find like if players are able to add at the trade deadline and boost their team to go in for a cup run. So I get that aspect of it, but when you're over the cap by a considerable amount, I could definitely see them wanting to address that. So yeah, I would agree. It's kind of a toss up on that one, so it'll be interesting to see what they do.
I would like to see, though, if they do implement a playoff salary cap, I'd like to see it higher than the regular season salary cap, because there's got to be more revenue made throughout the playoffs. Like, it's more interesting hockey. It's more exciting. It's more sold out stadiums, so like I understand, only half the teams are playing in the playoffs, but I feel like if they were to implement a playoff salary cap, like it's got to be a considerable amount higher than the regular season salary cap. But I guess we'll have to keep watching that and keep our tabs on that and see what they come up with that at that GM meeting there.
Yeah, like I would agree. I mean, I could see them bumping to say like if the salary cap right now is 81.5 million, maybe the playoff salary cap would be something like 90 million to give the teams like that extra room to bring in more players, and like you're saying with just the revenue around the league and all that building up the cap. I would be comfortable with a number like 90 million. I could see that being reasonable and not like a dramatic change from the regular salary cap. So yeah, that's just off the top of my head, but I guess we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we'll have to keep watching.
All right, so we're going to keep it going here. The World Cup of Hockey, I saw news around that. They won't include a Team North America this time around or a Team Europe. Personally, I loved seeing Team North America in the last World Cup of Hockey. They were super exciting to watch with all the young talent that they had over there, both from Canada and the U.S. So it's definitely a little unfortunate to see. They said they were going to go strictly just international teams, their nations. There's not going to be a Team Europe as well. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a bad take by the NHL, honestly. It's one of those situations where Team North America really provided more space for the game to shine, with bringing in these younger guys that, with like teams like Canada and US and stuff, like they're so stacked. There's so many good players that play for, each of those countries, and having a team like Team North America where, it's all young guns, all 23 and under players, and being able to, have more players from different NHL teams and bring them into the spotlight. And, that just helps to grow the game more, especially with the young kids as well, watching, like seeing those young superstars that are going to be taking over our, league for years to come. They're not going to be able to get that opportunity to see that. And I think that's just such a poor take by the league, especially like Team Europe as well. Like there's, a lot of good European players as well that might not get the chance because they won't be able to fit, those star-studded rosters. So personally for me, I think it's a bad take by the NHL, and I would really, really hope that they reverse that idea there.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I mean, in order to grow the game, I mean, a lot of the young players now are the face of the league. Like, we're talking players like Trevor Zegras, Jack Hughes, Cale Makar, like all those really young superstar players coming up. And if they were on Team North America together, like that would be a really exciting team to watch. And it's just really unfortunate that it's not going to be the case, because there's some really good young talented players right now that are 23 and under, and they might not make Team Canada just because of how good Team Canada is going to be on their own. So yeah, I would agree. I think it's a bad take by the NHL to remove Team North America this time around, because last time around, watching Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, all those guys together.
That Nathan McKinnon goal that he scored where the puck was turned over in the offensive zone, I can't remember. I feel like it was against like Sweden or something like that. But, where you kind of put the forehand backhand and then shelved it backhand over the poke-checking goal. You know what goal I'm talking about there, Brody?
That was so long ago. I don't remember.
It was a while ago. It was a while ago, that tournament. But there was just one goal there where Team North America, it was an absolute just the roof of the barn just went, man. It was one of the most electric goals I've personally ever seen in hockey, and just that possibility of situations happening like that, it's so unfortunate for the NHL to overlook that and decide not to include a Team North America or a Team Europe. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a bad take, really.
It's definitely a bad take when you're trying to grow the game to not have like all the exciting young players playing together, because that, in my opinion, that's what got me real excited to watch the tournament and keep tabs on it, was watching that team. I wanted to see like Connor McDavid with Austin Matthews on the same line, and like Nathan McKinnon, I guess Mitch Marner, those kind of players when they first came in. And yeah, not to see that this time around is definitely going to be a big blow. And it'll be I don't expect the World Cup of Hockey to draw as much attention as it did before, if they're going to disregard Team North America and Team Europe. That's just tough to see.
It is, yeah.
Anyway, we're going to try and bring it up on a more positive note after that one. We're going to talk about the Boston Bruins. They honored Tuukka Rask with a retirement ceremony. He had a fantastic career at the Bruins. He finally decided to call it quits. He's a Stanley Cup champion in 2011. I believe he was a Vezina Trophy winner. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But
I think you're right. Yes, he won the Vezina in 2013-2014.
Yeah, so he's definitely had like a really solid career, a long career. What are your thoughts on Tuukka Rask?
I've always loved Tuukka Rask as a goalie. He's definitely been one of my favorites throughout his playing career. He played almost 600 games in the league. He finished his career with a .921 save percentage and a .228 goals against, which is very, very good numbers. He played on that very good Boston Bruins team all throughout the 2010s. And Tuukka Rask has been one of those goalies that's always been, in the tops, being like a top 10 goalie in the league and stuff like that. It's unfortunate to see his career come to an end with an injury. He did try and come back and played a couple games with the Bruins, but it was unfortunate that he wasn't able to come back to his original form. But nevertheless, Tuukka Rask has been such a good goalie in the league. It's those Finland goalies, man. Finland pumps out some pretty dang good goalies, and Tuukka Rask is definitely up there and one of the best, Finnish goalies, let alone hockey players of all time. So yeah, congrats to Tuukka Rask. They're absolutely deserving of that ceremony that the Bruins gave him, and all the best in his retirement.
And Toronto Maple Leafs got to be kicking themselves, man,
absolutely.
Giving up Andrew Raycroft for Tuukka Rask. Man, did he ever turn out to bite them right in the you-know-what for multiple series in the playoffs. So, Yeah, he's definitely been a Leafs killer over the years. A very solid goalie, and like you said, Finland has produced a lot of good goalies. Tuukka Rask, Pekka Rinne, Mika Kiprusoff, those kind of
Kari
goalies.
Lehtinen.
Kari Lehtinen as well. Like the list goes on and on. And
Yeah.
congrats to Tuukka Rask on a great career and all the best, and definitely well deserved with that retirement tribute. And keeping it on the Boston Bruins news, Taylor Hall, questionable roughing on Ilya
We
Lyubushkin.
got to talk about this one, man. Wow.
We got to talk about it. Yeah, he got the maximum fine from the league. And yeah, from what I saw, it looked like Ilya Lyubushkin had a bit of a questionable hit on Hall, and then he retaliated and just went right back after him. And I heard Lyubushkin actually got injured on the play
He did, yeah.
and had
He
to
missed
get
the rest of
taken
the game.
off. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on that one?
A fine was not even close to deserving of what Taylor Hall got. Here's the thing. There's so many people on Twitter, so many tough guys on Twitter, saying, "Oh, this it wasn't even deserving of a fine. If you can't take a punch, you can't play in the NHL." And that's just a garbage take, man. Like if we talk about this Taylor Hall situation, the severity of it wasn't near Todd Bertuzzi, but you got to remember when it comes to suspensions and stuff like that, they don't look at severity as much as they look intention. And what was Taylor Hall trying to do here? He takes a terrible hit. Should have been called, absolutely. Lyubushkin should have gotten a call for that, which is a missed call by the refs, but it's not the first time that the refs have missed a call, especially this year, But the fact that Taylor Hall was willing to come from behind and throw a right hook at Lyubushkin when he's not even paying attention, it's just the intention there was to hurt him, and right there alone, that deserves a suspension, like straight up. It's a gutless play from Taylor Hall to, You when you're in the NHL, you know, how do I explain it? It's like you're a man, you're a man. You're playing in the NHL. You're a tough man. Sometimes you gotta bite the bullet, take a jersey number, and get him clean the next play. But if you're just gonna let your emotions go and you're gonna throw a blind right hook at a guy and catch him clean in the jaw and drop him, it's the same thing that got Bertuzzi went to court and got sued for it. So it's like, the intention to hurt Lyubushkin was there, and I think that was just a terrible call by, the league to only give a fine. That's my take on it.
I would definitely agree with you. I mean, when you go behind a guy's back when he's not even paying attention, you throw punches at him with the intent to hurt him. And I don't know what Taylor Hall's history is with suspensions. I don't really know if he has any history with that.
I don't know, actually.
But I think that would be at least like 2 to 3 games or something like that if you don't have a history, because I mean the intent is there to hurt him, and like you said, I mean you're a man in this league. I mean Taylor Hall's like pushing 30 years old. I mean he's a veteran in this league. He should know better than to just go after a guy when he's got his back turned. I mean, play with pride, go at him the next shift, get him back. Boston and Toronto have that rivalry, it's going to be a physical game. There's going to be moments in the game like that. I think there's a better way to go about it than Taylor Hall did. I think he can wear his heart on his sleeve and go out there and like finish him on his next shift and just give him a good check, be like, hey, I'm here too, like cleanly, yeah. Just it's a man's game, and there's got to be a respect there, and I think there's a better way to handle it than how he did.
The only suspension I'm seeing of Taylor Hall in his past was in 2013, where he got a 2-game suspension for kneeing Cal Clutterbuck. So I'm not sure really about his history, if that's the only suspension, but nevertheless, like I said, the intention is there, and he's got to get more than just a fine. He's literally intending to hurt a player, and that's the definition of a suspendable act. So I don't know. Bad take. That's what I think.
Yeah, and Taylor Hall does have a history of retaliating in his career, especially with, I noticed when he was playing with Edmonton anyway, that he would, with Drew Doughty especially, like if there was anything that happened, he would go right after him, and he would like kind of bark at him. He would get emotional and upset about a lot of things that was like, quite frankly, it was just a hockey play, just go out there, skate hard the next shift and just battle him back. And yeah, I think it was definitely more than a fine. I think he should have got suspended, but yeah, that's just my take on it anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one.
All right, so moving on to something else. We're gonna talk about another thing that's more positive than suspensions. We gotta talk about Cale Makar, man. This guy is
Oh my
on
God.
another level. He just set the Avalanche single season goal record for a defenseman. He's a phenomenal defenseman, and for years to come for Colorado, he's gonna be their number one franchise defenseman. The sky's the limit with this guy. What are your thoughts on Cale Makar?
What a hockey player, man. He has just so much skill in his play, and he plays with so much swagger and confidence, and he's one of the best, skaters we've seen in the league in a long time. And yeah, man, I tell you, the edge work that he has, and his puck control and his vision, he's absolutely insane. He's gonna be the next Bobby Orr. Like, we're witnessing the Bobby Orr of our generation here in Cale Makar. And yeah, absolutely crazy season he's having so far. I was reading a stat when the Flames were playing the Avalanche. I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but the Avalanche had, like, I want to say close to like 150 points or something like that from their blue line this season, and Cale Makar has almost half of those points. And it's just insane to see such a young defenseman play with so much confidence and just, be able to dominate in the offensive zone and the defensive zone. And he's going to be so skilled for years to come. And he's going to be, a repeat Norris winner in the future for sure.
Like, call me crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cale Makar was pushing up like 35 goal seasons in the
Oh,
future. Like,
100%.
this guy's phenomenal. I mean, he scores from everywhere. He's like got insane speed and vision. He's got great edge work, like you said. He's a very versatile player, and he's just he's the quarterback on their power play. And like you said, he's got like half of their points from defensemen this year, and he'll definitely be a repeat Norris Trophy winner in the future. Like, this guy is arguably, like you said, the next Bobby Orr, and he's a phenomenal player, so it doesn't shock me at all that he set the Avalanche single season goal record, and I could definitely see him getting 35 goal seasons in the future. Like, this guy's just crazy good.
There's an aspect to a player that I noticed that only a few select players have it. I know, like, there's certain players in the league that when they touch the puck or when they're on the ice, something is going to happen. There's a couple players, Connor McDavid, obviously, Leon Draisaitl as well. Johnny Gaudreau's another good example of that. When those players are on the ice, like, something's going to happen, whether it be an offensive chance or, like, just anything, something. You got to watch the screen or you got to watch the game because something's going to happen. And Cale Makar absolutely possesses that ability with no questions asked. It's just insane how this man is able to turn a game around in his favor. And like I said, he's going to be probably one of the best defensemen for a good, at least 10 plus years. So yeah, what a hockey player Cale Makar is.
Yeah, he's phenomenal for sure. And speaking of phenomenal, we got to talk about one game that definitely stood out to me. I couldn't believe it when I looked at it the other day. The Pittsburgh Penguins, they put up 11 goals in a single game. It's the first time that's ever happened in the salary cap era, which actually surprised me. Like, I've seen 10
really,
goal
I didn't even
games.
know that.
Yeah, that was something I saw in my notes that surprised me because I've seen like 9-10 goal games, but apparently, yeah, the Penguins are the first team since the salary cap was implemented in the 05-06 season to put up 11 goals in a single game. And yeah, that was just nuts. What are your thoughts on the Penguins putting up 11?
Well, yeah, the game before that, the night before, we had that big Battle of Alberta where the teams combined for 14 goals, and that was such an entertaining game, in every single zone of the game. But yeah, we kind of came off of that Battle of Alberta. We're like, okay, 9 goals against on the Oilers. That's probably going to be one of the higher scoring games this season. We're good. Nothing's going to come close to that. And then the very next night, Pittsburgh puts up 11 on Detroit and beat them something like 11-2. And wow, what a hockey game. Yeah, for sure. I gotta say, though, I feel so bad for Moritz Seider in that situation. He was on the ice for like 6 or 7 of the Penguins' goals, and it's so hard for a guy like that when you're playing on a team that, is just like subpar, and you're so young but so talented, and a team looks to you to, carry the team to success. And Yeah, when you're put in a position there where Pittsburgh, is firing on all cylinders and every bounce is going their way, it's just tough as a rookie defenseman in that situation. But nevertheless, yeah, Pittsburgh was just absolutely buzzing that night. They were putting everything on the board. They beat the Minnesota Wild yesterday as well. They gave the Minnesota Wild their first overtime loss this season. So Pittsburgh is definitely coming into playoff form, and they're going to be an exciting team to watch again. Again, I say, because they make the playoffs every year, but they're going to be an exciting team to watch when playoffs come around for sure.
Yeah, when you got Crosby and Malkin on your team, you're definitely a contender year after year. And I mean, the Penguins are a team that could push Detroit's record for most consecutive playoff appearances. Like, this team is in the playoffs every single year. And I'm going to be honest, I thought that this year they were going to start to decline because I just thought, with Crosby's age, Malkin's age, they're only getting older. And I thought they were slowing down, but I'm wrong there.
The thing about that, too, is that, we've been saying that for a few years now, 3 or 4 years. We've been saying, Crosby's getting older, Malkin's getting older, Letang's getting older. They're not going to perform as well this year. And they do it. They do it every single year, man. So it's as soon, I've been saying to everyone, you cannot count Pittsburgh out of the playoffs until Crosby retires. Straight up. Pittsburgh is going to make the playoffs every single season until Crosby is not a Penguin anymore. That's my take.
And they've still got good players around him, too. I mean, they got Jake Gensel, Brian Ross, Tristan Jarry's a solid goaltender. They've still got a really solid
newly
team
acquired
around
Ricard Raquel as well.
Exactly. So they definitely got a really good supporting cast around them, and I would never count Pittsburgh out.
No.
I was wrong for doing it once. I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to talk about some more news around the league. We're going to talk about, I'm not going to forget about you Leafs fans, don't worry. We're talking about you. Your boy, Austin Matthews, 50-goal season. And it's the first time he's done it in his career. Granted, he's had some bad luck with not being able to play a full 82 games, with last season being a shortened season. The year before that got cut short because of a global pandemic. They didn't quite finish the full 82 games, but he's finally done it. He's hit 50 goals, and he's within reach of, I'm not sure exactly what Leafs player it is, but he had the record for 54 goals. I could definitely see Matthews passing him.
I'll check this real quick for you to see who has the most goals in Leafs history. Most goals in history. Yeah, Austin Matthews, man, I tell you, it's the one aspect about Austin Matthews' game that is just so incredible is the fact that he's able to get open and find open ice to get passes from Marner and Bunting and whoever. But yeah, Austin Matthews, he's got such a release on him. He's got such a deadly shot. But that's the one thing that I love about his game is that he could be deep in coverage by one or two defensemen. He'll still find a way to open up and be able to get a shot off. So without a doubt, it's not surprising that Austin Matthews is able to hit 50 goals in a full season. Honestly, I could see him probably hitting 60 this year too. There's nothing really stopping him. So yeah, Austin Matthews, he's just such a natural goal scorer, and he's just so good at putting the puck in the net.
So I was watching YouTube earlier today from Sportsnet. Do you watch Kipper and Bourne by chance?
A little bit, yeah.
They had a segment today, and they were talking about how they felt Austin Matthews right now is more of a pure goal scorer than Alex Ovechkin, and they were talking about where he scores his goals from. They were saying that Ovi does it from kind of a consistent spot in his, his normal power play area or his one-timers from that side. When they were talking about Matthews, they were saying that he scores from all different areas of the ice, and right now he's a better pure goal scorer. But they were also talking with him that they were concerned about his longevity going forward, because they were saying, Alexander Ovechkin has been very healthy over his career. He's never really had any injury problems. But with Austin Matthews, they were saying they're concerned because he's had shoulder problems before, and he's had wrist injuries as well. So his concern is how that might, hurt his goal scoring going forward with not being able to maybe have that same release that he currently does right now. But yeah, Austin Matthews is a very, very talented shooter. He can score from all areas of the ice. He's got a wicked release, and yeah, I could see him getting 60, even maybe 65 goals in a full 82 games schedule. And yeah, what would you say about that?
I think I think I agree a little bit on that. Ovechkin, in his early career, he was more, I wouldn't say energetic, but obviously he was better conditioned. He was younger, not as many injuries. And Ovechkin, in his early career and in his prime, yes, absolutely, he could score the goal from any aspect, any area of the ice. And I think we're seeing that in Matthews a lot too. But Matthews, he's a gamer. He's seriously a gamer. Like he's one of those guys that it doesn't matter what situation you're in. If you're down by 5, he's still gonna find a way to score the goal. And I think it's just I think we're witnessing a very, very talented goal scorer that doesn't come around often. But I think I don't know if per se Matthews is going to score as many as Ovechkin, but if he's healthy and he plays full 82 game seasons, then I don't see why he couldn't really. By the way, Rick Vave is the name of the guy that scored 54 for the Leafs. That was back in 81-82.
So yeah, I could definitely see Matthews passing that this season. I'd be honestly shocked if he
100%.
didn't. Like he's gonna have the most goals by a Leaf in a single season for sure.
Yeah.
And like with Austin Matthews too, I mean, he also has that elite playmaker with him in Mitch Marner. He reminds me a lot of how Nick Backstrom was with Alex Ovechkin.
Oh, absolutely.
Like he was like his prime setup man. Mitch Marner's an elite playmaker that is a perfect complement to Austin Matthews, and they just have that chemistry. They're both very young, and they both have that speed and that skill, that creativity, that hockey IQ, that they just read off each other so well. And I think they're a perfect match for each other, and it just definitely helps to elevate Matthews' game and reach that next level in goals. So I definitely think there's a credit to Mitch Marner there as well.
I think the thing with Mitch Marner as well is that the chemistry between him and Matthews off the ice is definitely contributes to their play on the ice. Like they're best friends. They're together all the time. Like that chemistry that they have, just it's like you said, it's definitely reminds us of a young Nick Backstrom with Ovechkin, and yeah, those two together are unstoppable, man. They're a deadly 1-2 punch. So
that was like that play. I don't know. Was it the 2019-20 season, I think it was, where they were playing Carolina and Austin Matthews did that spinorama pass over to Marner?
I was watching that game on TV, man. That game was crazy. It looked like a for sure long gone game for Carolina, and next thing you know is Matthews pulls off that spinorama to the one-timer for Marner, and then literally the next face-off, Marner gets a breakaway off the draw and buries it, and yeah, that play was like, that was buzzing. Like I've never seen, the Toronto arena like go that crazy for that goal. That goal was insane. Yeah, I love that play. That was insane.
I think the only player I've really seen do that pass apart from Austin Matthews is Patrick Kane.
Patty Kane, yeah.
But yeah, it's just like it takes an incredible amount of skill to do that, because like Austin Matthews just kind of, he did that just, he didn't really even see that Marner was there. He just knew he was going to be there, and he just threaded the needle, and it was a perfect pass. And yeah, it blew me away too. I was like, that's a phenomenal play.
Yeah.
Just shows you how generational of a player Austin Matthews is to be able to do that.
Yeah, they're incredible players for sure.
Speaking of generational players, we got to talk about another generational player. Connor McDavid just hit 100 points for the 5th time in his career, and this guy's only 25. That's pretty crazy to see. And yeah, what are your thoughts on Connor McDavid?
Well, isn't Wayne Gretzky, didn't he only have 8 seasons at 100 points? I think it was 8. It was 8 or 9, but the fact that Connor McDavid is at least halfway there at only 25 years old, man, that's insane. Like, McDavid, like I said earlier, is one of those players where when he's on the ice, something's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen, but something will happen. And yeah, for him to hit 100 points is definitely not surprising at all. He's obviously, a top heart, contestant for it, and yeah, he's something else, man. We could spend hours just sitting here talking about the skill of Connor McDavid, but no, for him to hit 5 100-point seasons at only age 25 is just absolutely out of this world, and it would be 6 too. It honestly would be 6 if he didn't get injured in his rookie season. So no, it's no contest there. Connor McDavid is the best player of our generation, and he will be for a while still.
Yeah, I think I seen the other day that he passed Paul Coffey for I think
Yep.
fifth all time in points by an Oiler already, and this guy's only
He's
25
only
years old.
25.
Like that is actually insane. And I think if he spends his entire career with the team, he will be second all time in Oilers points. I don't think he's going to pass Wayne Gretzky in points by an Oiler. It's hard to say, but it's possible if he plays his whole career there. But again, that's an if there. You never know what can happen. So
Okay, I'm very mistaken here. Or am I looking at the wrong stat? I think I'm looking at the wrong stat. I don't know. The NHL's letting me down here. I'm on NHL.com and I'm looking at the wrong stat, but yeah, no, you're right. It's crazy how many points he's put up for the Oilers. It's crazy how much he's brought to this team, how much life he's brought to the Oilers too, especially, after getting those 4 straight first overall picks and really none of them started panning out until McDavid did. And yeah, he's the born leader of that team. He leads by example, and yeah, what a player Connor McDavid is for sure.
yeah, he's definitely brought a lot of excitement and hope back into that franchise, and he's actually a really good leader on that team too. Everybody said like when he first got nominated captain, they were like, "Oh, he's just getting the C because he's the best player on the
Yeah.
team or whatever." But he's actually a really good leader for that team. He carries himself well. He's a quiet leader. He leads by example, not necessarily how vocal he is, but yeah, he's just a all around great player, and he's definitely brought a lot of excitement to that team. So
And a
yeah,
2-goal
definitely.
night tonight with the OT
Yeah,
winner.
yeah, he definitely had a great game for sure. Let's see, what else do I got here for news on the week? There really wasn't a whole heck of a lot going on this week in terms of news that I saw. Do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I wanted to quickly talk about the playoff picture coming up here. The Pacific Division is starting to get a little tight here. The Flames obviously in first in that division. I think LA's only like 5 points back. I think I want to say something like that. With the Flames have 3 games in hand. The Oilers are right behind the Kings there, and the Canucks are kind of making a little bit of a push too for that final wild card spot. How do you see this playing out, Brody? What do you think? What do you think as for the Pacific Division? How do you think the teams are going to seed there?
Uh that's tough to say. I think Calgary's gonna end up finishing first. I don't think anybody's catching them in the Pacific. LA and Edmonton are very close. They're really neck and neck right now.
Mm-hmm.
Edmonton has been on a roll lately on home ice. I think they've won like 8 in a row at home or
9 in a row.
something, like 9 in a row. Yeah,
Yep.
they're playing very well at home right now. I think it's hard to say. I'm looking at their schedule right now. Actually, they've got the California road trip is what they've got coming up next. So they got Anaheim, San Jose, then they play in LA. That'll be an important game.
Very important. Yeah.
They've got Colorado at home after that. They play Vegas at home, Dallas, Colorado again. They've got a tough schedule this month. It's tough to say. I think as long as Edmonton can stay ahead of Vegas, same thing with LA. I think they're gonna finish 2 and 3. As to where in the or in the division they finish is still up in the air. If I had to guess, I don't want to be biased when I say this, but
You can be biased, man.
I feel like Edmonton could pass LA and get second. It wouldn't surprise me because don't they have games in hand on LA, or am I wrong? Does LA have
I
games in
believe they
hand on
have
Edmonton?
one game in hand on LA and they're a point back. But I
Yeah.
agree with you on that one. I truly think that Edmonton is going to leapfrog LA there for second in the Pacific. I think that's going to be the playoff matchup, though. I think it's going to be Edmonton versus LA. But you just look at the Oilers, and it's like the goal differential between the Oilers and the Kings. The Oilers have a plus 19. The Kings have a plus 2. Like the Kings are, and you look at it as well, the Kings have 10 overtime losses. The Oilers only have 5. So realistically, the reason why the Kings are holding this second spot right now is due to the fact that they're able to drag games out into overtime or shootout, like they did against Edmonton and Calgary. They lost in a shootout to Edmonton and then beat Calgary in a shootout. So it's like, I think realistically, Edmonton, I think with the talent that they have up front, adding Brett Kulak, adding Derek Brassard, getting a little deeper, I think that Edmonton's depth is definitely going to prevail over LA, and I think you're right there. I think the Oilers are going to leapfrog the Kings and take second in the Pacific.
I'm gonna say 1 Calgary, 2 Edmonton, 3 LA for the Pacific,
Yep.
and then for the Central, I'm gonna go obviously Colorado 1. No one's passing them.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say Minnesota number 2, and Nashville St. Louis right now is kind of a toss up, but I just feel with the way Roman Yossi's been playing for the Predators lately, I feel like Nashville is gonna finish third. I see St. Louis being a wild card seed, and I think Dallas is going to be the other one. I'm going to go on a limb and say I think Vegas doesn't make it this year.
I really don't think they do. They only have 12 games left. They're what, a couple, like 1 point back behind Dallas or something like that. But I think it's actually going to be the other way around for that third spot in the Central. I think St. Louis is going to hold on to it. I agree with you. Roman Yossi's been playing on an absolute other level this year, but I think the Blues just are a deeper team. They have more weapons. The play of UC Saros and Roman Yossi has definitely propelled Nashville to where they are right now. And realistically, I don't think Nashville is really considered a playoff contender this year. So the play of those two guys and just Nashville as a whole has definitely helped them get into a playoff spot. But I think St. Louis is going to hold on to that third spot.
And I will say this too. I think Dallas has like 4 or 5 games in hand on Vegas as well. I think checking they had like 3 games in hand on Edmonton or something like that. Like Dallas still has games to play. So
Yeah,
that's why I see like Vegas is hurting. They've got to get on a roll fast, and they've got to rely on some other teams losing as well.
absolutely. Yeah. And it's getting time now where some of the teams are getting officially out of the playoffs, like Montreal and Seattle and Arizona and stuff. How long do you think until teams like maybe the Canucks aren't able to make the playoffs? Do you think the Canucks are going to try and go all in and get there?
I'm gonna give it. I'm going to say 6 or 7 games. I think once they hit that like 74, 75 game mark, I think Vancouver's going to be kind of out of the running. Winnipeg, it really depends if they can. They got to keep winning because they also have those overtime losses, which is kind of
Hmm.
keeping them afloat. But I think by the time it's at the 75, 76 mark, it's going to be down to kind of like just a couple teams. I think the ones at the bottom are going to start to fall out, and I don't think they're really going to be in the running in about 6 or 7 more games.
Yeah, I don't know. As a Flames fan, obviously you want to see Vancouver struggle a little because you have a little bit of a bias. But as a fan from Canada, it's always nice to see more Canadian teams in the playoffs. It's unfortunate that we're probably only going to see 3, maybe 4, if Winnipeg or Vancouver can, tidy it up and get some W's. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely making for a good playoff push, especially with these games in hand. That's the big thing too, because a lot of teams had a lot of games postponed from COVID protocol and stuff like that. So it's one of those situations where you think you're safe in the lead, and all of a sudden a team that's got a bunch of games in hand sneaks up on you. So we're definitely gonna keep tabs on the playoff race, and looking forward to the playoffs, man. It's gonna be a very eventful year.
So we know the Eastern Conference is set with which teams are getting in the playoffs. They're a bit of a
Absolutely.
different story, but
Yeah.
where are you predicting the teams to finish?
Well, let's start with the Atlantic Division. Florida won, obviously. Florida's an absolute wagon. I don't see them dropping to 2. I could see. I don't know. It's a tough one. I don't think Boston's gonna crack top 3. I think Boston's gonna stay in the wild card spot. I think Tampa Bay will jump back up to 2, and I think Toronto will finish at 3rd there in the Atlantic. As for the Metro, Carolina number 1 for sure as well. I could see Pittsburgh leaping the Rangers to finish 2nd there. The Capitals are definitely going to finish 2nd wildcard spot, but I could see right now as it's sitting, I could see the teams flip-flopping in the 2nd and 3rd in both divisions. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there in the East.
I'm pretty much going to agree with you 100%, man. I think Florida's going to be first in the Atlantic for sure. I mean, they're a really solid team. I don't see them being leapfrogged. I feel Tampa will probably finish second because, I mean, when you've got players like Andre Vasilevsky, Steven Stamkos, Kucherov, I just think their goaltending situation is stronger than Toronto's right now.
Hmm.
So I see them finishing second. I do see the Leafs finishing third, though I would agree. I don't really see Boston overtaking that wild card spot.
No.
But, I mean, for a wild card seed, they're a very strong team because
Yes.
they're right in the mix with Tampa and Toronto as well. They're not far off from them. I think Washington's pretty much set where they are at second wild card. I don't see them finishing any higher than that. Carolina, I definitely see finishing first in the Metropolitan. They're a very, very good team. As for the Penguins and the Rangers, they could definitely leapfrog each other. They're neck on neck. I could see Pittsburgh overtaking the Rangers, but I could also see the Rangers finishing second. Just kind of depends how it goes for the last stretch of the year. But yeah, I would pretty much agree with you. I think that's pretty good for how the East is going to turn out.
Yeah, it's going to be an eventful playoff race, man. I'm excited. We're down to close to the last 10 games of the season. So these are where the points are super crucial. And that's the thing is playoff seeding. It's like, where do you want to finish and who do you want to play in the first round? With for Edmonton's sake, it's like, yeah, it doesn't really matter if they finish second or third. They're probably playing LA in the first round. And that's probably their best choice right there. You don't really want to play a team like Calgary, or you don't want to play a team like even... I don't even know what their odds would be like against a team like Dallas, really. So that's where it really comes down to is, your seeding. Where do you want to play? Who do you want to play? And home ice advantage as well. So it's going to make for an interesting last few games of the season here.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely agree. It's going to be an exciting run here down the stretch. And then we'll be into playoff hockey where it counts for real. And that'll be super exciting to watch. So, Got anything else you'd like to add on that, or?
I think that's about it for me. Anything else on your end there, Brody?
No, man, I don't got any other notes. It was there wasn't a whole heck of a lot going on this week.
It's hard to follow up, after the trade deadline and stuff, with being as eventful as the NHL is in trade deadlines. So this week definitely, like you're saying, is a little bit lackluster than the last couple weeks. But as we get closer to playoff time, it's going to be a lot more entertaining. But we appreciate you all for tuning in to the Cherry Pickers podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening along. Our podcast is available on all streaming platforms, whether it be on Spotify Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or even on YouTube. We upload one episode a week every Sunday, 12 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time. That's 2 p.m. Eastern and 11 a.m. Pacific. But yeah, we appreciate you all tuning in and listening, and we hope to see you back soon. Take care.